Hi, everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer, the DRFBets Race of the day for Thursday, June the 20th, is race number 8 at Belmont Park. New York breds going a one-turn mile and a 16th. This race, an optional claimer. Get involved with your DRFBets account. Remember, if you bet $7 to win on any one horse in any race of the day this month and your selection finishes second or third, you get your money back. DRFBets. Ready, set, bet. Let's meet the field for Thursday's race of the day. You can access free formulator past performances for this race on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. Download them, handicap along with us. We'll take the field in post position order, Mike. And as I looked at this race, I just thought the horse that gets the best trip's going to win. They just look so evenly matched.
I felt exactly the same way, Dan. I mean, you don't have any, real win machines in here, although the one Broadway Bay has won a ton of races in his career. But, it just feels like you're right. Whoever gets the best trip will probably get there first. There isn't a ton of pace in this race. That's one thing to keep in mind. But, I agree with you. A lot of different ways to go in here.
Well, let's begin with the aforementioned Broadway Bay. And he's back in with New York breds. And the last two times he was in against fellow state breds, he ran really well. He only got beat a neck 3 back, a winner 4 starts back. You could argue he's just been overmatched in his last couple of races. Turco Bravo, that 10-year-old, can still run a little bit. He beat him 2 back. And last time out, he faced a horse, the 4th finisher for Jorge Navarro. That horse came back as one of 2 next out winners to win with a 96 buyer at Penn National. Broadway Bay, as you mentioned, a win machine. I wonder, where he is at the age of 8.
I mean, we'll see. I thought his first 3 races of the year were all good. He had some things go his way in those races, which is very important because he's going to need some things to go his way in here, too. But he's back in a better spot. He fits really well with these horses. If he gets a trip, I think he'll be there at the end. Real
Dan's real logical because he's real lightly raced and he has real upside potential. His most recent race he was in against the streaking H-Man. And who knew that H-Man could get this good? He won again after beating Real Dan. It was Real Dan's first race off a little bit of a layoff, but I'm interested in your thoughts on that race. It looked like he was sitting a pretty nice trip inside. He split horses and John Velasquez had the whip out a long way. Real Dan ended up last turning into the stretch and he really didn't do too much. Was it just as simple as stepping up from the non-winners of 1X to the non-winners at 2X was too much for him on that day?
Yeah, that's a tough step up to make. And he didn't, it's not like even leading into that race. I mean, he was favored. I don't know. It's not like he didn't have to improve to beat that field. He really did. His first 2 races I thought were fine. I think he's pretty tough in a race like this as he stretches out again. Maybe he'll handle all that stuff, but I wouldn't take a short price on this horse.
Good to see Uncle Si still kicking around in his 8-year-old season. Remember way back when he was second in the Withers and second in the Gotham, and he ended up running 14th in the Kentucky Derby. That was back in 2014. Well, he was in for 25 last time out in a very weak off-the-turf field, and he just made those horses pay. He's tried this $40,000 condition a couple of times recently without much success, but he does have a little bit of speed, Mike. And as we see from the Timeform US Pace Projector, the number 3, Uncle Si, can be close. I think even a little bit closer than the projector has him.
Yeah, we talked about how trips are going to be important, and this horse can get a good one in this race because he's very tactical. Last time, they just found a great spot for him. But I think it's worth pointing out that his races 2 and 3 back, I thought he was compromised in both of those races. The race 2 back where they just went real slow in front of him and he didn't run great in there, but it's not like he had a real chance either. His race 3 back, part of a real competitive pace. Vincento, Broadway Bay, who were both back in here, came from out of it and ran him down, but he might have run the best race that day.
While the number 4 Storm Prophet doesn't like to win races on the face of it, 10 seconds from 27 lifetime starts, hasn't won since December of 2017. He already got through this condition, and after that, Linda Rice, Rudy Rodriguez, they were very content to run against open 1X company. He's back in with these state breds. I think he does fit. He's just going to need a little bit of a pace. I thought 2 starts back he ran okay in a race that produced 4 next out winners.
He did. He ran well. That was a very strong allowance race, and he ran well that day. Listen, he's a huge contender in this race. You just have to ask yourself, what kind of price do you want on a horse who's 3 for 27 with 16 second and thirds? He does very rarely seems to win, but he is a huge player in this race.
6-month layoff, a little bit of a concern for JJ's Dreaming going out for Mark Henning, but he caught a couple of sloppy tracks to close out his 4-year-old campaign. And at Belmont on October the 4th, I thought he ran really well. He was pressing a couple of horses in the early portion, then ended up being taken back to track inside, went around him 4 wide, turning into the stretch. He was coming at favorite Avinu Malcano at the end of that race, and he earned a competitive figure, and that's not the only competitive figure he's earned in his career.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I looked at him too, Dan. I just think once they got him to dirt, he just really improved. And he was getting real good last year. He ran a bunch of figures that make him almost stand out in a race like this one. And he caught those sloppy tracks at the end of the year. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense. And he's got a great running style for this race. It's just a question of whether he's ready off the layoff.
While the 6, Vincento's form doesn't look great, again, it's worth noting he's been on turf, he's been against open non-winners of one other than. The last 3 times he's been at this level, he has 2 wins and a 3rd place finish. I don't like his lack of early speed. I would love it if Luis Saez can get him into the race earlier, but he might be a nice sort of sneaky price play that's a bit dirtied up on paper.
Yeah, he really is. He fits really well in this race. Another horse who just makes a lot of sense in here. I'm with you in that his running style, especially lately, is not great. When he did win that race back in March, that's the race we talked about before where the pace was real competitive and he just came last to first and closed it down. But he fits well in this race. Rudy reclaimed him. Rudy knows this horse. He's another horse who makes a lot of sense in here.
I do agree with the pace projector that the 7 San Juan Diego stretching out off several sprint races will make the lead. He was on the lead in his most recent start against H-Man, who came back to win with a 92 Beyer speed figure. I'm just concerned about the distance for this horse. I mean, Ron Moquette's sharp. This horse has only raced once around 2 turns in his career. Yes, he was in against a sharp horse named Tenfold, but he got beat a country mile.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like this was a race where you could make cases for a lot of horses. I had a tough time making a case for this horse.
Let's take a look at our top selections for Thursday's race of the day. I'm not sure if I trust Bluegrass Cat Smile around 1 turn. I think he is just, if you take a look at this horse, just a big hulking individual that has run well around 2 turns in the past. And if he runs okay here, I'd like to take a shot with him at Saratoga going at 2 turns at this level. But I thought last time out it was a bit surprising that Rajiv made kind of a mid-move into the pace in between horses. And I understand if he tried to turn into a staying contest, but this horse just doesn't have that acceleration. He needs a little bit of help up front. He's sort of a grinder. I actually think 1 1/8 is his best distance. If not 1 1/4 down the road would actually be good for him. But he's solid. He's consistent. He doesn't need to be 100 lengths out of it. He's just been stuck in this condition forever.
I mean, we look at him kind of the same way. I want to say all 7 of his career wins are 2-turn races. I don't think he's ever won a 1-turn race, so that's something to keep in mind.
That's true.
But he got, I think, maybe the wrong ride last time, especially when you consider Dynamax Prime came from last and won the race. I mean, he could have sat it out and maybe gotten a better trip. Before that, I thought he was compromised by pace. I mean, you can make excuses for this horse all day long because he doesn't win that much, but I'm a fan of his. I think he fits well in this race, and with the right trip, he can beat this field.
I think he's a decent price in here. I'm going to go 8, 2, and 3. You're going with the 5, JJ's Dreaming, to be fresh off the layoff for Mark Henning, to get the jump on these horses turning into the stretch. And again, this horse has the figs.
Yeah, I'm hoping he just gets the right trip and he's ready off the layoff. I went 5, 3, and 8. The 5 and then Uncle Cy because I think he'll be close to the pace. I like your horse too, Dan. I just don't really trust him.
Yeah, it's very hard to trust you. Got to get a price on the 8, Bluegrass Cat Smile. Mike's going JJ's Dreaming. It'll be interesting to see who you take in the DRF Bets Race of the Day. Place $7 to win on your top selection. And if your pick finishes 2nd or 3rd, well, we'll give you your money back. Promos.drf.com is where you go for all of the details. And approximate post time for race number 8 at Belmont on Thursday, 6:46 Eastern. Good luck.